In northern Italy during the ice hockey knockout playoffs, Sofia Romeo, a 16-year-old girl with short hair, is sitting outside the rink, agitated because she incurred a penalty for playing aggressively. Her father Santo Romeo, a middle-aged man with a beard, and her mother Ingrid Gruber, a blonde lady wearing glasses, are sitting in the crowd cheering for her. She returns to the rink after the due time of the penalty and leads her team to a win. She responds to the applause jubilantly, while walking out of the arena. She meets her boyfriend Hakim, a motorcyclist, who was waiting for her. He praises her for carrying the day with a kiss. She bids him goodbye with a promise to meet him the coming weekend. She goes over to her parents, who have been waiting for her beside their Jeep. They congratulate her with a hug and enter the car. Before getting into the Jeep, she reminds Santo of his promise to give her driving lessons if she reached the playoffs. Santo happily agrees to take her the next day. They ride off home, to a house out on the moorland. The next day, he takes her on a drive. She roughly drives the Jeep through the pine trees, resulting in breaking the side view mirror, and stops by a lake. They spread out a rug and sit there, relishing the majestic beauty of the lake in the heart of the Green Mountains. Sofia postulates about the alluring mountains of Santo's hometown, Calabria. He nods in affirmation, lowering the corners of his lips. She wonders about his reason for moving away from Calabria at a young age. He crosses his legs and hints that he moved for the sake of love. She adores her parents' love, listening to the story with sparkling eyes. Before the evening sets in, they stand up to ride back home. She requests him to let her capture a picture together, to keep the memory, but he solemnly declines. While he is fixing the mirror, she clicks his picture secretly and uploads it on social media. Then they ride back home. Meanwhile, Santo's picture has been matched with a wanted face by Dr. Ferrario, through a biometric network. He contacts someone who has been after him for more than 20 years and informs them about his location. The next day, Santo and his brother-in-law, Patrick Gruber, are working in their small sawmill. After cutting a board, Patrick goes to pick up Sofia from the training camp and drives her home. At home, Sofia goes into her room to change her training jersey, while Ingrid and her brother Patrick sit at the dining table for lunch. Sofia steps out, holding her jersey, and goes upstairs to put it in the wash, before going for lunch. Two men intrude into the home holding metal rods. When Ingrid hears the thudding sound of the door, she assumes it to be Santo. She goes out of the dining room in excitement but is astonished to find two men with weapons instead. One of them grabs her and executes her. When she screams, Patrick pops out, but the second man, wearing a camera collar that is recording the assassination, goes to him and exterminates him by striking his head with the rod, considering him to be Santo. When Sofia hears the disturbing sounds, she creeps near the staircase, and screeches to see her mother's face covered with blood. The man spots her standing there. She rushes towards the balcony. The man chases her but she jumps on the grassland before he can catch her and runs away, panting. He is flustered with anger after losing her. Then they leave the place, cocksure about hunting down their main target. In the evening, Santo slides into the car and contacts Patrick. Then he calls Ingrid and Sofia, but his worry increases after having no response. He rides home and is stunned to see the lifeless bodies of Ingrid and Patrick. He is shouting his daughter's name while running around the house to find her. Sofia, who has been hiding nearby, comes out of the hiding spot and appears at the entrance of the home, when she finds her father's car. Santo runs to her, she screams woefully and cries to call an ambulance for Ingrid and Patrick, but he pushes her into the Jeep hurriedly, saying that they both are already gone. On the way, she keeps on questioning wretchedly about the catastrophe, but he does not answer any of her questions. After a while, the Jeep stops outside a deserted hotel. He takes her inside. She shouts at him in agony to contact the police for help, but he disagrees, stating that the police would take him. Then goes toward the bathroom, leaving her perplexed. Meanwhile, Rudy Cruzara, one of the assassins who barged into Santo's house earlier, calls Don Angelo, a Mafia leader, and informs him that they have successfully assassinated the man and his wife, but they missed the girl. Angelo asks him to report in person, along with a video. After a while, Rudy stops outside a lavish building, enters and shows the video clip of the assassination to Angelo. While watching the video, Angelo identifies Patrick to be unfamiliar and orders Rudy to relocate the target. Rudy contacts his partner, Marino Gallo, and commands him to find Santo and his daughter. In the deserted hotel, While Santo is shaving his beard, a flashback haunts him, when he shot down Don Angelo's son. When he comes out of the washroom, he sees Sofia panicking and smashing everything. He composes her by hugging her tightly. After a while, he sits beside her and unveils his past life. He reveals that his real name is Domenico Franz. He adds with lowered eyes that he was not a good man and he worked for 'Ndrangheta, a Sicilian mafia. He was expected to eliminate rival families before they eliminated him. His past leaves her flabbergasted. She blames him, crying, for her mother's departure. Santo lowers his head, guilt-ridden. The next day, Santo hands her a phone, imploring her to wait for him there. He further instructs her not to contact anyone nor attend any call, unless it's his call. He goes out, assuring a forlorn Sofia that nothing will happen to them. After some time, Santo sneaks into the house of Vituzzo, the secretary of Don Angelo. When Vituzzo returns home, Santo grabs him and hits his head on the basin. While pinning him down, he threatens to take his life and inquires about the execution planner. Vituzzo discloses that Don Angelo sent his right hand Rudy Cruzara, and another assassin, Marino Gallo, to eliminate him. Santo ends his life before leaving his house. In the abandoned hotel, Sofia dials the helpline number and then changes her mind. After a while, she calls Hakim and asks him, crying, to pick her up, and tells him the location. After a while, he reaches the motel and rides off with her. A black car chases them. After noticing it, they turn to the forest, but the car follows them there too. Meanwhile, Santo returns to the motel. After finding Sofia gone, he runs off to find her. In the forest, Marino Gallo jumps out of the car and executes Hakim, then turns to a terror-stricken Sofia. She tries hard to run away, but Marino overpowers her and thrusts her into the hatchback of the car, after tying her up. When he starts the car, Santo appears and wrenches him out of the car fiercely. While fighting, Marino stabs Santo in the stomach, which leaves Santo grunting. Sofia cuts the ties with a sharp blade inside the hatchback. While Marino is aiming towards Santo, she approaches him briskly and strikes his head with a wooden log. When he falls, Santo shoots him down and they jump into the jeep. Santo rushes it away, holding his wound. Next, they stop outside a department store. Santo directs Sofia to wear the hood and bring the required stuff from the store, whereas he goes to the washroom to clean up his wound. Sofia picks up all the stuff, and goggles to hide her eyes. When she goes to the counter to pay the bill, the news channel is reporting about the assassination of her mother and uncle, along with her and Santo going missing, and a shadow passes over her face. She draws the hood forward on the face, cautiously picks up everything, and walks out hurriedly. She takes the driving seat before the arrival of her father, considering his injury. After some time, Santo arrives, limping. He takes a look at Sofia in the driving seat, then sits in the passenger seat. She inquires grievously about the end of all the mess. He asserts determinedly, while looking at the road, that things will be normal when he ends what he started in the past. She wears the goggles and rides off, skeptical about the future. In Angelo's residence, his son Michel, a workaholic, visits him and talks about the business that they have initiated. He wants his father to stay undercover and stop chasing the man, so they keep up the goodwill. Angelo furiously avers that he lost the wrong son. He scorns him for not caring about taking revenge for his brother's demise, rather, he is just counting the money. Michel asks him if he is sure about taking the risk. Angelo questions his trust in him, looking into his eyes. Michel gives affirmation, holding his hand. At night, in a parking lot, Santo shifts watchfully into another car that his friend arranged for him, and they race off again. Meanwhile, Don Angelo is sitting with Rudy Cruzara and Dr. Ferrario. He shows gratitude to Dr. Ferrario for locating his enemy through his network. He asks him to spread his network all over Milan as he is expecting his rival to come to Milan. Ferrario assures him he will help. Concurrently, Santo asks Sofia to stop the car when they reach a building with a signboard reading, Vendici. He steps out of the car, asking her to wait. Then he sneaks into the building by jumping over the wall and unlocks the gate. After a while, Sofia receives his message to come up. She creeps into the building too. There, she changes his bandage, but he falls unconscious in unbearable pain. She starts panicking, asking him to wake up. Then she takes the money from his wallet and runs out to find a doctor. She searches the area and finds only a lit glass door. She knocks on it and cries for help. Two ladies appear and turn her away. When she offers money, they go with her and shift Santo to a warehouse that has been used for illegal abortions. Santo undergoes timely treatment, which saves his life. Sofia sits by his bed, holding their family picture that she found in his wallet. There is a note written on the back of the picture, in which his father expresses his love for her. She reads it with teary eyes. After a while, Santo wakes up, smiling at her. Meanwhile, Dr. Ferrario goes to Michel, to inform him that his father wants him to locate Franz at any cost. Michel is still not happy with the idea, but he approves of it, considering his egocentric father. He orders Ferrario to do what Angelo wants, but keeps him updated. Dr. Ferrario nods affirmatively. In the warehouse, Santo writes something on paper and hands it over to Sofia, commanding her that they need to leave the place. The next day, Dr. Ferrario locates Sofia near the warehouse, through his network. Rudy Crisara arrives along with another man. Rudy barges into the warehouse and inquires about them. The other man is waiting outside. Rudy spots Santo there and chases him. Sofia stops a blue van outside the warehouse and walks toward the entrance, but runs back, appalled, after seeing an armed man there. The man aims toward her, but Santo shoots him down after escaping the warehouse, dodging Rudy. They rev the van and reach a barn in a desolate place. Santo makes a dynamite bomb. Then he hangs a sack filled with grains on a hook and hands the knife to Sofia. He trains her to use the knife. She takes the position nervously, and he instructs her to hit a certain point in the stomach, that this hit may hurt the opponent, but he will survive. Then he shows her how to hit another point, the heart, and says that the opponent will bleed out within 3 minutes of the attack. Lastly, he states that if she cuts the jugular vein, the enemy will end up suffocating in his own blood in 30 seconds, with her face as their last vision. After the training, Sofia shows him the map of Michel's office building, that she got from its interior designer's account. They arrange everything to execute the plan. The next day, Sofia wears a hood, goggles, and a backpack. She heads outside Michel's office on a scooter, holding her phone. She clicks the pictures of guards in their standing positions and sends them to Santo. A security guard comes to her and inquires about her presence in their area, along with a phone. She shows him the screen, where a map has been opened, and pretends to be a tourist. He asks her to leave. Concurrently, Santo sneaks into the office building from the parking area, after eliminating all the security guards outside the office. When he enters the hall full of workers, he hears the bomb explode outside. The explosion distracts the workers. Santo slinks into Michel's room and takes him out of the office, pointing a gun. He knocks Michel unconscious when they enter the elevator. Sofia takes the driving seat of a car that Santo brought to the parking lot, after hijacking it from a security guard earlier. Santo pushes him into the car and they dash out of the parking lot. In the deserted building, Michel lies in the blue warehouse van, while Santo is taking his pictures. He takes him into a room and ties him to a chair. Then he goes to Sofia and assures her that it will be over soon. Sofia hugs him warmly and smiles, in the affirmation that she trusts him. Santo slides into the van and accelerates away, leaving them behind. Don Angelo, in his nightgown, is sitting with Rudy, who shows him the picture of Michel that he received from Michel's phone, along with a voice message. In the message, Santo demands Angelo to confess the crimes that he has committed in the past 30 years and make public his bank details in 1 hour, otherwise, he will lose his other son too. Don Angelo asks Rudy to call over Dr. Ferrario. Dr. Ferrario arrives at Don Angelo's place and traces the location to a rail yard, where Michel's phone caught the signal to send the picture. Angelo asks Rudy not to disappoint this time. Rudy, along with his men, race into the rail yard. They stop the cars at a distance and go toward the train carriages. There, they find the blue van. When they reach it, they try to open the van doors and call Michel's name. Santo shoots down 2 of them with a sniper. They hide behind the van. Rudy runs further to find him. After a while, Santo pushes the button to blast the van, which results in eliminating all the armed men. After a while, in a train carriage, Santo cuts Rudy's jugular vein and rides toward Angelo's place. On the other hand, Michel, who is tied to a chair, requests water, which Sofia gives him out of mercy. After a while, she receives a call from her father, that he is going out of his way to eliminate Don Angelo. He adds that now, she can survive without him. Santo is shooting down the security guards outside Angelo's house. She begs him to come back. He keeps going forward and reaches Don Angelo. He ties his neck and strangles him to exterminate him. On the call, Sofia is still crying. Meanwhile, her phone has been traced, and security forces are heading toward the place. After eliminating Don Angelo, Santo disconsolately tells Sofia that he had left the past behind and turned into a good man, but he has been thrust into the arms of violence again. He steps out of the place, saying that he loves her so much. The next sound she hears is the gunshots that shoot down Santo, and she screams mournfully, calling for her father. By that time, the security forces reach them. They free Michelle and arrest Sofia. After a court hearing, Sofia is declared innocent and admitted to a facility center. In the facility center, we see Sofia carrying her stuff, along with a warden, who escorts her to a room. After some days, Michelle visits her with chocolates. He tells her that he wants to start over, as they both have suffered due to their fathers. Despite Sofia's disinterest, he hands her his card, and insists she contact him whenever she needs help. Then he goes out and sits in the back seat of his car, where Dr. Ferrario was sitting already. He tells him that he is not sure if his trick worked or not, but he wants to tie the rope around her neck and hang her, like Santo strangled his father. Then they ride off. When Sofia turns 18, she obtains a permit to move out of the facility. One night, she packs up her stuff, wears her hood and high boots, and sneaks out of the building. In the last scene, we see Michelle alone in his office hall, talking on a call with Dr. Ferrario, who is standing outside the facility center. He informs Michelle that Sofia is not there. Michelle wonders where she would have gone, then drops the call and steps into his room. He sees Sofia, with hair reaching her shoulders, sitting on the couch. She looks feisty and confident. She approaches him, and he tries to act normal after seeing her and asks her if she needs some help. She cuts his jugular vein, whispering that her family will keep ruling. She followed her father's rule, which is to take their life before they take yours. She looks at him with a grimace, as he drowns in his own blood. Then she triumphantly walks out of his office, dropping her hood forward.